Hey everyone, we're back here on Rocktopia, and so I thought we would do these wolves today for a couple reasons. The first, we got a quest for them. The second is they actually dropped some reasonable stuff, markup wise, and we'll see what we're able to get. They haven't quite added codex, and so on this planet, and so the only thing we're able to codex at this point is going to be the mobs that are also on Calypso. Oh, there's what we're talking about. Those grindhouse death vinyls. And we got some pretty early. 145% markup, 300% markup, 200% markup. And you see they're not too uncommon for them to drop. It's definitely not every kill. And they do kind of come in a little bit of waves. Where you'll get like 2 or 3 drops in a row, and then you won't get any for a few kills. But we're just using the Barbarella and that Syncatus that you get out of the starter kit today. And these guys don't actually hit hard enough or often enough that I think we're even going to need to use armor. And so we'll get a bunch of muscle oil, residue, a little bit of animal hide from these guys, and then those vinyls. And then they have a couple of rare drops, wolf blood, and things like that, that you only get occasionally. And so I think Rocktopia is the only planet at this point that hasn't converted over to the codex system. But a bunch of their iron missions are for stuff that's codexable on Calypso. The Hyrule, the Aatrox, the Dagobahs. Um, there's some big Sunamas or something like that. Um, they're a little higher than I wanted to take on. We'll kind of work our way back to that first corpse. And there's a ton of these wolves out here. Um, Starting at the teleporter Wet Wolf Creek, you can kind of work yourself west a little bit. The further west you go, they get a little higher maturity, I think. Although these are still young, so we did have that one provider. But I think when we get closer to where that other guy is on the map right now, um, you'll start seeing a little bit higher maturities, or at least more olds and providers compared to youngs. If I remember from the last time I was hunting out here. And these are pretty easy. The youngs have 50 hit points, which actually makes them swuntable if you wanted to hang out by the teleporter. You might have to break and heal every little bit or whatnot, but the combination of reasonable markup loot and uh, the ability for them to be sweated um, does make them a really good swunting monster for someone who's trying to break even on every hunt. It's definitely easier when you collect sweat, which has a really high markup, like not a great price, but like it's 1.3, 1.4 ped per K right now. Oh, there's a wolf eye, one of the more rare ones I was talking about earlier. And you see, even when we got jumped by 4, it wasn't too bad. We have okay evasion though. But if you find yourself getting worked down too much, Pixie Armor works amazing on these guys. We got an okay amount of these death finals today. That's kind of nice. And since all these have under 100 hit points, they die pretty quickly. And you can just use trade terminal weapons if you want, which makes them kind of a nice hunt or a swunt, depending on your preference there. I think even the tier components have a little bit of markup these days. Yeah. It's nice because we're getting about half and half on the shrapnel to stuff that might have some markup, although not that time. And so we're getting what's known as more optimal loot in the new system. And that just means that we're killing it significantly fast enough and efficiently enough that we're getting more of the non-shrapnel loot table. And part of that, I'm unsure on how much of that is just weapon efficiency and killing quick enough, like damage per pack type stuff, and how much is a little bit skill related. Because I noticed that when we boosted our skinning skill up, um, we chipped in, I think, 10, 20 ped in skinning at one point when we were on Tolan. And the component that was shrapnel definitely shifted away as that went up. And I don't know if that was just looter level based, skinning skill based, or um, mechanistically what the trigger was there for that shift in loot. But I noticed that it tends to shift a little bit for us the more we um, go up in our animal looter. But part of that could just be the profession itself that drives that, like I said earlier. But we do a lot of the tree cutting, which is a lot of those peripheral skills, so we're backfilling those in to where most of those are a couple to a few thousand points at this point. And so I think that might help us as well. But again, there's enough variables that I'm not able to tease them all out. and kind of definitively state what the driver is. And while shrapnel's nice because it is still 1% markup when you convert it, um, it's really nice to get some stuff that has a little bit higher markup than that, we'll say. Alright, we're going to cross the river here. And this is still young too, so maybe it's just a weird mix. Although we'll see, we're going to get down towards where the waypoint is, so we'll find out if it's all kind of like that, or if we're going to get into a little bit higher maturities. Like, I don't think we're going to see any prowlers or anything like that. Oh, that was a nice one. That was real nice, actually. I mean, not a global, but those mini hits really can turn your hunt from not amazing to I kind of broke even. That kind of looks like provider's going to be the top end here. A little bit of a skill boost here. What we get? 12%. Well, any boost is welcome. I think maybe there's more old, and so the percent breakdown on the maturities might be a little better out here by where the waypoint they give you for the mission is. And the mission's just given, where was it? It was over here at this, I think Lemmy's Castle. It's the graveyard with the vampire and all the gravestones. Like there's like 4 or 8 maybe. That's where I think it starts. It's been in such a long time that I'm not starting to second guess it a little bit. do like they were getting a fair amount of those vinyls. Like I said, they have pretty enough markup that when you have a stack that you're definitely going to notice when you upload it. No, these are definitely a nice, relaxing hunt. You don't really have to worry about switching to heal too much. And again, if you are taking too much damage, you always have the option to use a little bit of uh, starter armor, and it does wonders with these guys until you can get your evasion up a little bit, which is also why we take um, evade almost every fifth reward. The only time I think we haven't taken it was there was like biology and zoology was an option, and they're a little time consuming to work up, so it's nice to get a little boost here and there. And they're expensive if you want to buy them. And so most of us are on a little bit of a budget. Whether it's a big budget or a small budget, you still got a budget. And so it's hard to want to buy those skills when you can just go out and do them for a few weeks after work or whatnot and get about the same amount, but a lot cheaper because you're putting that time in. At least that's how I feel about the tree cutting. Yeah, and I think it starts off if you haven't done these quests yet, and you can still get them since they haven't codexed the planet. All of these are still available. Um, you can get the first one's like 100, then 500, then 1,000, then 5,000, I think. And there were a couple of good skill rewards on the way. I don't remember what they were exactly. I remember pushing up and wanting to get through this one. I think this one's just first aid though. The fourth one. So not amazing, but since we're out here hunting them anyway, trying to get some of these vinyls and whatnot, it's nice to work through an iron mission as a added bonus. I mean, like it's a free skill boost no matter what it is. Now, obviously, you kind of want it to be one that's more useful for you. But all skills have a value, so it's not like it's a complete waste since you're doing it anyway. And so it kind of just builds into that double dip strategy I talk about sometimes, where you try to find a quest or two that you can overlap and get the benefit of both while you're working out there. And so get a couple of dailies, and then you're getting codex, things to that effect. Helps you get more value out of the ped you're spending. But again, these are super relaxing and easy to put your little cursor over yourself, like we got going on here. F to loot, F to shoot. And then obviously you got to be a little careful with that when there's other people around, but we're out here far enough at this point that we're kind of by ourselves. It does look like to be a lot more Olden providers out here, which isn't really good for our quest since youngs are cheaper to kill, We could be getting a little further through the quest if we were back in that young area. And so that it might be worth kind of circling back a little bit. Grab one to shoot for our little walk back till we start getting into these other mobs again. Yeah, I think it's 50 for a young, 60 for a mature. I'm not sure what the old is. It might be 70. It might step up at 10s at that point. But I did notice that the providers in the olds definitely take a few more shots than these youngs. And we'll still run into those here. It just will be less prevalent, I think, is what we noticed on the way up. So yeah, we're getting a lot of muscle oil, which would be better if we were going to transport it back to Calypso. We need a ton of that for that next crafting thing we want to do. It's nice. There's a little road that kind of leads up and back down to the teleporter. And we'll just kind of hunt our way there. We seem to definitely get more optimal loot on the youngs than the providers. And I just think that that might be a DPS issue maybe, where we're just not killing them quite fast enough, or maybe it's just a little bit of the randomness of the loot. But it's not a whole bunch of different types of loot. Mostly we're just getting this muscle oil, these animal hide, and then we're getting a smattering, oh, and the animal oil residue. And there's just a smattering of other stuff that we have the option of getting. Those tier components seem pretty rare. Obviously, we've only got one. And we've done pretty good on the vinyls, but they're usually a touch on the rare side, we'll say. Not like super rare, not really rare. So they're definitely uncommon. I would say now we can cross back over. This is kind of where we started. Right there's the teleporter that you can just teleport in at. These are mostly young. The mature, the occasional old out here. And so this is definitely the kind of the cheap area to hit this mission off. I guess the occasional provider as well. But there's definitely a lot of wolves out here, so even if there's a few people out here hunting, there's still plenty to go around. You can literally just move over to the next area or the next area. There's like 4 or 5 areas that have a pretty reasonable concentration. Oh, a guardian, that's actually the highest maturity I've seen out here. So I don't know where the ideal zone is, but we definitely seem to get more optimal loot on the smaller ones compared to like that guardian and those providers. But this is a nice, relatively low cost mob to skill on as well. I mean, 50 hit points, and then the amount you lose is typically a little less on mobs with that drop markup loot. Things that are 200-300% markup. And which one was the 300%? Let's take a look. Oh, not that one. This one. So, I mean, that's the equivalent of an extra half up head. There's some wolf things. There's another of the kind of rare wolf loot we were talking about. Heart fangs. I I think maybe you can get the claws as well, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. I don't know what they're used for either. I assume some crafting blueprint somewhere, but not one people are wanting to craft on or have apparently. And so we're a little halfway through this Vampire Wars 4 mission. It is definitely not the quickest mission to crank out, with it being 5,000 kills. I guess I could be using like a really big gun and be one-shotting everything and it would go a little faster, but either way, it's a fair amount of kills. It's nice to be able to use our repairable Barbarella here, because there's no markup on something you can repair. Even if you bought the weapon, it's all sunken cost at that point. Like, how many times you repair it doesn't really matter. It's not like you degrade the durability every time you repair it, and one day it'll just not be repairable. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap our wolf hunt up here today. I hope that everyone is having an amazing day. Stay epic.